All right, welcome back to the State and Local Sports Show, Episode 5. I'm here with Mark Tennis from CalHighSports.com, co-founder and editor. Thanks for being here, Mark. And a big thing that happened last week on Sunday, Governor Jerry Brown signed into law that California schools can no longer use the phrase Redskins as their mascot names. Now, your column that you do weekly for us, you're touching on it. Don't want to reveal the whole column. Obviously, want it to be read and read well. But what is the basic premise of what you talked about on this subject?
The basic premise that I talked about was more about what has happened to schools in the past that have had to change their nicknames. So they didn't do it by a government or an assembly bill signed by the governor, but there are schools that have changed their nickname in the past. So the idea is to sort of reflect back on those schools, what they did, and sort of provide advice and get the juices flowing for the folks up at Calaveras on what their new nickname should be. And offer some suggestions and just some ideas based on what other schools have done. That's sort of the idea.
You can see some of Mark's suggestions in the column itself. Personally, I'm a fan of Warriors. It's a bit generic. It doesn't seem like it's hurtful, and for the time being, they can keep a lot of their logos and aesthetics. I went to Cal State Stanislaus for a couple years. They've been the Warriors. They moved from a Native American mascot to more of a Spartan kind of warrior. So if at some point they have to change more, they could do that too. For the subject itself, obviously it's more pertinent to and matters more to Native American people and the schools involved. I'm personally happy that this happened, even if it hurts a handful of people in a given region. I think it's worth it being respectful. Do you have any thoughts on the issue itself?
You could see it coming, and I sort of agree with it. I know there are a lot of Indian-themed nicknames, and some of the schools that have switched from Apaches and have switched from, there's a couple that already had switched from Redskins. Calusa was the last one. Vallejo just switched from Apaches. John Sweat of Crockett just last year announced it was going to drop Indians. But I think of all the nicknames you look at around the country, they're Indian themes. Redskins does, to my gut, it's offensive. I'm not Indian, but I know it seems to be more offensive to Indian people, and so I'm sensitive to that.
And I went up to Calaveras for the first time to do some some Butte Fire coverage, and such a great tradition there. And I understand that everything for those who love high school football in a town, it's from the mascot to the field itself. But when you talk about these people who have had their seat in the stands for decades, it seems like it's more about the people they have connections with and the football team itself. You think that it might be some strange sting because they're used to Redskins, whether they like it or not, but that'd have to dissipate after a few months, and you kind of see what really matters, I would hope, about the situation.
Yes, I would think, I agree that it would dissipate. You'll have new parents that'll be sitting there. New traditions can be born. Some of the other, they hopefully they'll come up with a nickname that'll just, ring in everybody's head and go, okay, we can go with that. And then a year or two down the road, they'll be fine with their new nickname and their new traditions.
Now, as we've spoken about before this year, the Valley Oak League's top tier is absolutely incredible. Central Catholic-Manteca and Oakdale combined 18-0. The current pecking order in your guys, CalHighSports.com's current state Division III rankings goes Central Catholic, Oakdale, and Manteca right now in succession. Manteca hosts Central Catholic at 7 p.m. Friday. Our good friend Rich Estrada, Black Hat Football, will be there. Your thoughts on that matchup and how the league itself might shake out? There's such an incredible top layer in the VOL this year, as there has been many years in the past.
Correct. Those three are definitely in the top tier. Actually, with Manteca, we're still not quite sure. I'm not sure they really played anybody worth that's really that good yet. I think Central Catholic has, that being St. Mary's, winning at St. Mary's or winning against St. Mary's is a team that Manteca hasn't played anybody close to that, and so I think you have to still look at Central Catholic and Oakdale as the top two, and Manteca is still the third. And maybe this is a big game where they can prove that they really do belong in that top tier, and we'll find out. But I still think Central Catholic's the team to beat and probably the favorite in this game.
I'd have to agree. Central Catholic did put up an average of 54 points per game in their first two VOL games. I don't think that'll happen again. Manteca defense, their starters have only given up one touchdown this year, 3 shutouts. That defense at least is for real. I think you'll see them keep Central Catholic maybe even in the high 20s, but it's hard to see the Raiders losing, except maybe that finale against Oakdale this year. Down in the SJAA, in Stockton, McNair right now 5-1. They host Stagg, which is kind of a deceptive 2-4 in our game of the week. Stagg played a much more difficult preseason schedule. Last year the SJAA champion Chavez had a 14 seed. The number 2 automatic bid Stagg, I believe, had the 16 seed and had to play Folsom. Now McNair 5-1. Even if they win out, even without a marquee win, go 9-1. Could that maybe mean a home game? I mean, you have more experience looking at how these brackets are laid out than I do, so I just wonder if they can make it through. Would they get a little bit of a benefit just because of how the overall record looks?
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't know about a number 8. I'm thinking it's going to be lower than that, lower than that, because the strength of schedule is going to be so bad as a Division I team. Now, really, that the SJAA, keep in mind, shouldn't be in Division I. Those schools, from a competitive equity standpoint, it definitely should be Division II or even Division III to be playing schools that they're more aligned with, socioeconomically and every other way. So I think that's probably where they belong. I was joking about it the other day that if McNair sort of somehow got the number 16 seed in Division I and had to play Folsom, and then you had Darion Grimm sitting at 34 touchdowns and needing one more to break the record, and it's a Folsom guy that he's breaking the record. How fun would that be?
That would be fun.
Even though they'd be huge underdogs, would Folsom put like 3 guys on him to make sure he never catches a touchdown pass? That could be very interesting.
Well, they're hosting Stagg this week. To me, it was a coin flip game. It still can be a coin flip game. Very impressed with the way McNair went into their bye week, though. They beat Tokay, a TCal team that blew McNair out last year, 40-27. 27 is actually a respectable defensive total to give up these days. Beating a Tri-City Athletic League team, one that's been to 3 consecutive playoffs. I think because of that, I have enough faith to pick McNair, especially at home. Your thoughts on this matchup?
I'm going to go against you and pick Stagg. What stands out for me about Stagg is the scoring 33 points against Foothill. Foothill of Pleasanton is a state-ranked team. That is a team that's number 2 or 3 in the East, number 3 in the East Bay right now, undefeated. And Stagg actually played them, scored a lot of points. Now I didn't see the details. Maybe they scored all the points against Scrubs. But I still like the idea they scored 33 points. I like their players. I think they're coming into focus. They did play a very tough schedule. So I'm going to pick Stagg in a maybe a mild upset in that one.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us yet again. If you go to CaliSports.com, the Gold Club, less than $2 a month, less than $20 a year. You get all the record books, state rankings, all the premium content. Definitely worth your while. Mark, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Thomas. Thank you.